What if I told you that you can make the Love Notions ballad blouse with a standard button-down shirt collar? Let me show you how to do it. I'm Anjori, an ambassador at Love Notions and the owner and thread artist at Be Threadly, filling joy and positivity through all things embroidery. We are talking all about the Love Notions ballad blouse today, which actually is the Feature Friday pattern, which means it's on sale for $5. But you can only get it today, so make sure you grab it before the day's over. And if you like my work, you can use the affiliate link in the description below. Help support me. Thank you. Let's take a look at the ballad blouse in detail. It is a button-down shirt. It is meant for woven fabrics, which means it's not designed for the stretchy knit fabrics. You're going to get your best results when you use drapey fabric that is lightweight, such as crepe, gauze, rayon challis, rayon, linen, lawn, silk, and voile. Its distinguishing feature is actually the shoulder detail that is either sheared or gathered. And I actually have a video on how I do my shearing so that I can use less of the elastic thread, because that thread is kind of expensive. So I will link that video in the description as well. The blouse comes with 5 different sleeve options so that you can customize your look. You can make it into a sleeveless or a short sleeve with a cuff, or puff sleeves with ties, or a flutter sleeve. And the last one is a bishop sleeve. My favorite is actually the bishop sleeve. And of course, with all the Love Notions patterns, the front bodice piece comes both with the standard bust option as well as the full bust option. And many sewists love how you don't have to do that extra full bust work and get straight into cutting. When the pattern first came out, I was pretty excited about how it looked. I love button-downs shirts in general, and I loved how the shearing detail was there. And so I wanted to make it immediately, and in order to make it faster in my brain, I thought it should be made out of knit so that I could use my serger and then zip through it. And I know I just said earlier that it shouldn't be made out of knits, but I did make it out of a knit fabric. It's a very lightweight, I want to say it's a polyester jersey, but I'm not sure exactly what fiber content of it is, but I love it. It's comfy, casual, but also a button down, so it is a little bit elevated as well. If you do decide to try making it in a knit fabric, then I would definitely suggest that you stabilize certain things like the back yoke and the shoulders, because you don't want those things to stretch out. I have more details on how I made mine in my blog, and I can link that into the description below. So when I started making the ballad again for this video, I decided that I wanted to take things a little bit slower and get the fit right and make it in a woven like it's supposed to. So I did do some tissue fitting to adjust my shoulder. It has a weird adjustment, and actually I wasn't able to figure it out on my own, but when I was doing the tissue fitting, luckily there was a local sewing meetup the next day, so I went to the meetup and I had somebody help me through the tissue fitting so that I could get the right angle of my shoulder, because I've always had problems with the button downs going back. So I really wanted to fix that, and I have been able to, which is great. If you are unfamiliar with tissue fitting, I would suggest getting this book here, and it is great. It will walk you through how to do the tissue fitting, and it will walk you through if you have any kind of adjustments, certain adjustments that you need, like your shoulders are sloping, or something is too tight, or something is too loose, and how to fix that. It is mostly geared towards the top half of your body, but it has been a great book for me in figuring out fitting adjustments over the time. So I highly recommend getting that. So once I was ready to start cutting, I was looking for some fabric and I wanted to make it in a fluid fabric, more drapey. So I found this thrifted shirt and it was perfect because it was black, but it also has the purple, and I was hoping that it had just the right amount of fabric. So I unpicked everything, made sure to salvage all of the seam allowances and everything. And I laid everything out and I was able to get at least the front two bodice pieces and the back bodice piece, as well as the yoke, out of that skirt. I was not able to get the entire shirt with that one skirt, so I added the lace. So the sleeves here are lace, and then the shirring is also made from lace. You can't tell because it tightened up pretty tight when I finished the shirring, but it is lace. So that's how I got around the fabric issue there. But I love how it fits, and I like how I adjusted the back as well, so that it's not ballooning, which is another issue that I've had in the past. I did take out 1 inch from the back fold and gathered the back instead of doing the pleat, so that it's a softer drape down the back. Again, because I didn't want to have that ballooning issue that I've always had with button-down shirts. My third ballad blouse is made out of a gauzy eyelet fabric, and I was initially going to just use that gauzy fabric, but I didn't want to worry about figuring out the right undershirt because it was going to be see-through. So I did later decide to underline it with a lightweight white cotton so that I can wear it regardless of what I'm wearing underneath. The underlining did add a little bit of structure to the shirt, but I like the look, so I'm happy with it. And I left the sleeve without the underlining, so I still have that gauzy feeling, but the rest of it is not see-through and is a little bit more structured. And because I wanted a colored shirt, but I like the fit of the ballad as well as the shirring detail, to me it's a little bit more drapey and it's less structured than a dart is, so I really like how it rests on the body. So I was thinking, how can I take the Aria's collared shirt and collar and transpose it onto the ballad blouse? And that was my challenge that I wanted to do on this third shirt. It's a fairly straightforward process. You know, you're transferring the neckline and making sure that everything lines up. There is a little bit of math involved because you need to add fabric to your shirring, like how much fabric you're shirring. The shirring will come further into the center to accommodate the placket that is much straighter than the original ballad. But if you're worried because I said math, don't worry, because I will walk you through everything and it is fairly simple. It doesn't have to be exact either because it is shirring and it is going to stretch and adjust, so don't be afraid of it. All right, so let's get to it. We're gonna start off with the ballad front pieces, so the front shirring detail as well as the front bodice piece. And what you want to do is draw your seam allowance lines on both of the pattern pieces and attach the two pieces together at the stitch line. Okay, so the 3/8 line that you created, overlap them and tape the two pieces together. And you're going to do the same thing even if you were using the gathered front option. you're just not going to have to attach two different pieces. It'll just be one piece. I would still draw the seam allowance lines for now and trace out the size that you want. And we're going to take the Aria button down front piece and put that underneath your ballad piece. Now, because both of them have the front placket, you'll line up the center front, and the shoulder closest to the neck, you're going to line that up. In the video here, you're going to see that it's a little bit off because of the adjustment that I had made to my shoulder, and the reason why it's off is because I'm using the original shoulder line for the shirring detail. Now you want to take some scrap paper or extra pieces of tracing paper and attach it to the ballad blouse pieces, and you're going to trace the neckline as well as extend the center front placket from the Aria onto the tracing paper. You can cut out the new lines and you'll have the new neckline as well as a new center front. And since I have attached the shirring detail yoke, you want to just add a little bit of extra paper so that you can complete that gap right there. So next is trying to figure out how much fabric you're going to be using for the shirring. If you're doing the gathering view, then you can skip this portion. So the first step is to measure the original ballad shirring detail, and you want to measure how wide it is going to be where it attaches to the front bodice. So here my bodice length is going to be 5.5 inches. Then you measure the shirring block, how much fabric you're going to be using to shear, and here it is 18 inches, but it is on the fold, so you're going to multiply that by 2, so that is 36 inches total. To find the ratio, you're going to need to divide the shirring block by the original bodice length, so that is 36 divided by 5.5, which equals 6.54, and that would be the ratio. So the new bodice length that you have modified is 6.75 inches long, and you're going to multiply by the ratio, making it to be 44. So that is the total length of the shirring block, and you're going to divide that by 2 because the pattern piece is on the fold, making that 22 inches. Now we're going to move on to the back piece, and again you're going to take the ballad back bodice piece as well as the back yoke and measure out the seam allowance and align that stitch line together, tape them down just like you did the front part. And this time so you're going to take the Aria back yoke and mark out the size that you need for it. Again, it's going to look a little different on my video right now because of the shoulder adjustment. I had actually taken out a chunk from the back yoke, and so I'm kind of adding it back in so that I can align it properly, but you won't have that same issue to deal with. And again, you're going to mark out the lines on the Aria and add some tracing paper to the ballad and trace out the lines that you marked. The next step is to figure out if we need to change the collar any based on the new neckline that we have drawn. And the best way to do that is to draw out the seam allowance on the Aria neckline. So I'm measuring out the seam allowance along the neckline for the size that I would have made. You walk your tape measure around that stitching line you measured out. So here my Aria neckline is 10 3/8 inches, and the Aria collar I measured out is 10 5/8 inches, so the neckline difference is 1/4 inch. And similarly, you're going to do the same thing with the new ballad pieces that you have. You're going to mark out that seam allowance, and I'll align the 2 shoulder pieces and walk the tape measure along that seam allowance line or stitch line. And here my ballad neckline is 11 3/8 inches, so I'm going to be adding 1/4 inch to my collar, and that would be 11 5/8 inches. So my new collar is going to be 1 inch wider, and I'm just going to attach it to the fold and measure out an inch from the fold and true up that side. And the only other change that will be made is the length of the placket, and that's a fairly easy one. Once you have constructed the bodice piece, you measure out the front, center front, and see how much you need for the placket. And because the length changed, I actually redrew my buttonholes. Put on the shirt to put a mark where your bust line is going across the apex, and then you're going to use something like this. This is as high as I want for the buttons. So now I just want to shift it. The button I'm going to use is this. So I want to start my buttonhole here. I shift the first button and then adjust accordingly. So there you have it. Now, those are all the changes I made to mash up the aria and the ballad. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have any questions or comments on how you would do things differently, then let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And be sure to follow me at bthreadly and join the Love Notions Facebook group and say hi. Until next time, happy sewing!